Fine. Right? Okay. So let's start. How many have joined? 26 have joined. Right. Okay. So what have we discussed in the first two units? Can somebody tell me? Hmm? At least a brief of what you have learned in the first unit and in the second unit. We are supposed to be starting the third unit today. At least the headings. Hmm? Nobody likes to respond. Hmm? So the first unit we learned all about the fundamental aspects of data mining. What is data mining? What are the types of data that can be mined? What are the issues associated? Then we looked into uh, the pre-processing. Uh, the knowledge discovery in databases, the steps involved in that in detail. Then we looked into the pre-processing aspects. What are the various steps involved in pre-processing? How to clean the data, how to transform the data, all those things was discussed. Okay, so that was what the various steps in pre-processing was the last topic in the first unit. Okay, then the remaining units, second, third, fourth and fifth, discusses the prominent data mining techniques. Okay, so in second unit we discussed about frequent pattern mining, which comes under the heading called association rule mining. Is association rule mining a supervised technique or an unsupervised technique? Can somebody tell me the association rule mining, the frequent pattern mining techniques? We discussed a lot of techniques. Then we discussed the how to evaluate the interestingness of a pattern using various measures like support, confidence, lift. We discussed all those things along with some algorithms, three to four algorithms. Okay, so this association rule mining, market basket analysis, or in short, your association uh, uh, analysis. It comes under which category? Supervised learning or unsupervised learning? At least give me an answer. Nobody knows. So, what's the point in me telling on a daily basis, discussing so many topics? At least give me an answer. Let it go wrong. Doesn't matter. But at least tell me it comes under supervised learning or unsupervised learning.
Is it unsupervised?
Yes, yes, very good. It's unsupervised learning. It's unsupervised learning. So only one person could answer. So that means I should start today's class with the types of learning and tell you what those two things are once again, supervised and unsupervised. Okay. Then now we are going to start with the next one of the most popular data mining technique called classification. Classification and the various approaches to classification. Then how to evaluate it. That's what we are going to discuss in the third unit. So classification basically comes under supervised learning. Okay, supervised learning. Then of course, fourth unit we have some other topic like a cluster analysis that again comes under unsupervised learning. Okay, now let's concentrate on the third unit. So you can see here, third unit is all about the classification, basic concepts, the general approach to classification, decision tree induction. Actually, there are many approaches to classification like decision tree, naive Bayes classification, support vector machines, even neural network based classification. So many techniques are there. Okay, so few of them are being discussed here, like a decision tree induction, Bayes theorem, naive Bayesian classification. Okay, so these things are being discussed here. Then rule based classification, you can see here, if then rules for classification. Okay, then after constructing the decision tree, how to extract the rules from it. Then after that, we will be discussing about the metrics for evaluating the classifier. What are the various metrics for evaluating the classifier? That will be the second half of the unit. So where we will be discussing about various aspects about cross validation, bootstrapping, then and various other methods. Okay, so that's the coverage of this third unit. Okay, so to start with, Right. Okay, so today's class we will look into the basic concepts of classification. What are the various basic concepts involved in understanding the supervised learning technique called classification? Okay, so this is something which I have already discussed in the first unit as well as in the second unit, but I feel I need to discuss it once again because when I asked whether association comes under supervised learning or unsupervised learning, nobody had an answer. Okay, so it's as computer science and engineering students, it is very much essential for you to understand clearly the difference between a supervised learning and an unsupervised learning. Okay, so rather than giving you this definitions, whatever is being projected on the PPT. Okay, let us go to a small example to understand what is supervised learning. Okay, so am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Okay, so when you say supervised learning, I want all of you to listen because this is the foundation for anything in the sense your data mining, machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence. Okay, so all these are siblings. I had already told you the difference. I mean, where AI falls into. Machine learning is a subset of it. What is the difference between machine learning and data mining? So these are all interrelated. So a good understanding of the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning is very, very essential for a computer science student. Okay. So first, let's start with supervised learning. Okay. In supervised learning, past data is basically used to make predictions. Okay, so to understand the supervised learning, I'll tell you an analogy. Okay, so when you were small children, okay, so all of you would have required some guidance to solve specifically the problems in mathematics. Okay, so your teachers would have helped you uh, uh, regarding the problem solving and would have explained like what addition is or how this particular addition or subtraction is being done, etc. So teachers would have guided you. Okay, same way or in similar lines, you think of supervised learning as a type of machine learning that involves a guide or a teacher or a supervisor. Okay, so the labeled data set. So you can see here, there's something called labeled data set mentioned out here. So the labeled data set is the teacher who will train you to understand the patterns in the data. Okay, so when you say labeled data set, it is nothing but your training data set. In machine learning or in data mining, we have two types of data sets. One is what is called the training data set, and second one is what is called the testing data set. Okay, so the labeled data set out here is nothing but your training data set. Okay, so you can see here in the picture, in the slide, what I have projected here. Okay, it is taken from one of the tutorial based sites. Okay, so the Tom and Jerry pictures are being given here. Okay, so what we are doing is we are feeding the computer or we are feeding the machine with images of Tom and Jerry. On the left hand side you can see Tom and Jerry. Okay, so you can see here the pictures of Tom and Jerry. Okay, so you are feeding the machine with images of Tom and Jerry. Okay, so what is our objective? Our goal is for the machine to identify and classify the images into two groups. What are the two groups? One group is Jerry group, the second group is Tom group. Okay, so that is Tom images as one group and Jerry images as another group. So that is our objective. Okay, so the training data set, whatever is being fed to the model, that is labeled. What do you mean by labeled? In the sense we are telling the machine, this is how Tom looks or this is how Jerry looks. Okay, so by doing so, you are training the machine by using what is called your labeled data. Okay, so as far as supervised learning is concerned, there is a well defined training phase done with the help of labeled data. Now, have you understood what is a supervised learning? Okay, to give you another example. Okay, so uh, all of us use email. It could be your Gmail or Yahoo or your Outlook or whatever. Okay, so you have this thing called spam filtering. spam filtering. Some emails may be spam, may not be necessary for you. So spam and ham differentiation. Ham is nothing, ham is nothing but the mail which is not a spam, is nothing but a ham. Okay, so actually it is a machine learning uh, a technique. Machine learning is being basically used in your spam filtering of emails. Okay, so machine learning algorithms are being used for deciding which email is a spam, which is not required for us, and which is not spam, that is nothing but which is a ham. Okay, so based, how is this being done? So based on it is basically the Google is doing machine learning. Okay, so based on all the previous data, like all the previous emails that you have received, okay, or the data that we use. Okay, so the system is trying to make some prediction regarding when a mail comes, whether it is a spam or a ham. Okay, of course these predictions may not be 100% correct, but then many a times, most of the times, they are accurate. Okay, so your classification techniques fall under the category of supervised learning. Okay, so now a similar line, we have what is called unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning, are you all listening? Strength of the class is 50. Are you all listening?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the same person responds, others don't respond. Unsupervised learning. Okay, so unsupervised learning is all about finding some patterns, let's say hidden patterns. Okay, so if you equate it to an analogy to understand what is unsupervised learning, you can equate unsupervised learning to a smart and an intelligent kid who tries to learn on his own without any guidance. Okay, so in this particular type of machine learning, the model is not being fed with labeled data. You can see here, it is unlabeled data. Okay, so it is not labeled data. Okay, so the model doesn't have any clue that this is the image of Tom and this is the image of Jerry. Okay, so the model has no clue. So it will basically figure out the patterns and differences between the Tom and Jerry, by on its own, by taking a lot of data, or you can say huge tons of data. Okay, so for example, the machine will try to identify what are Tom's prominent features. Tom is bigger in size, or Tom has got, let's say, eyes which are pointing. Okay, so all these things are being taken into account. All these features are being analyzed or identified. Okay, and then it will say it belongs to images of type 1. Type 1, this is type 1, and let's say Tom is type 1 and Jerry is type 2. So it will try to put together all those images with all these features. Okay, bigger in size, pointing ears, and similar other features. Okay, then the same way it will try to identify what are all the features of Jerry. Jerry, then it will try to group together the various images which matches Jerry's as type 2. Okay, type 2 is Jerry. Okay, so it is classifying the images into two different classes, without knowing who's Tom or who's Jerry. Okay, so you're grouping with the help of unlabeled data. There's no labeled data out here. Okay, so all your clustering techniques in data mining, about which you will be learning in the fourth unit. Okay, so clustering, grouping of data. Okay, for example, it could be grouping of people based on the geographical location, or grouping of people based on the language they speak, or some demographic features, or whatever. Different clustering techniques are there, different application domains are there. So clustering falls under unsupervised learning. Whereas the associations, about which we discussed the second unit, okay, when that is the basket analysis, the a priori algorithm, those are the different techniques we discussed under association rule mining. Okay, so those come under the category of unsupervised learning. Okay, so when you buy products from the shopping sites, okay, so the system will recommend another 10 products for you. Okay, so basically the association algorithms are being used for this sort of recommendation. Okay, recommendation systems, recommendation mining. I mean, all those things come under the class category of what is called your unsupervised learning. Okay, so now I think with this you have understood clearly the difference between a supervised learning and a unsupervised learning. Have you understood? Sriram? Sriram is listening in class?
Yes, ma'am, I understood.
Okay, okay, fine. Right. So next time when I ask you, when we go to the fourth unit, and I again ask you what is supervised learning and unsupervised learning, you should not be confused. Okay. So now I think whatever definitions are being given here, that makes more sense with the help of these two figures. What I have just projected. Okay. The supervision, the training data is accompanied by labels indicating the class of the observation. So new data is classified based on the training set. So how this is being done is what we are going to learn in the third unit. Okay, so unsupervised learning, example clustering, this you'll be learning in the fourth unit. Okay, so yeah, fine, right. So let's start looking into this part, supervised learning or classification. So please keep this in mind. This will help you to understand basically what's the basic difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. Then of course there are a lot of things which happens in training phase, keeping making the data ready, data cleaning. Those so many things are there. Okay, so that part right now we are not discussing. Then unsupervised learning, fine. So let's come to our supervised learning. Okay, so I think I have shown this PPT in the first unit when we discussed. Okay, so supervised learning, there are two categories, classification and regression. Okay, so classification is what we are going to discuss now. Okay, so when the output variable is a category, yes or no. Okay, so this part is what we are going to discuss in this unit. Okay, so for example, before starting any project, we need to check its feasibility. For example, let's take a banking example. A bank loan officer, he wants to analyze the data, just to know which customer is uh, will pay the EMI on time. Who is a safe customer and who is a risky customer? Risky customer is the one who will default his EMI and will not pay his EMI on time. Okay, so before dispersing the loan to the customers, the bank would like to know who are the safe customers and who are the risky customers. Okay, so in such a case, a classifier is basically required to predict the class labels and categorize it as either safe or risky. Safe means okay, safe. He's got a good job. His age is also not very. He's not very old. He doesn't have any other loans. Okay, in case he has any other loans, of course they've gathered information that he doesn't default any of his EMIs, so he can be categorized as a safe customer. Okay, risky customer. Okay, based on the historical data, they found that he doesn't have a high paying job or he doesn't have a permanent job. Okay, and he already has two loans which he is unable to pay at the moment. Okay, so based on so many factors, they categorize him as a risky customers. Okay, so that way, that's what is classification all about. Okay, or for example, a marketing company want to analyze, okay, uh, uh, whether a particular customer will buy a computer or not. Okay, so based on the historical data, some information is being gathered. Based on that, a prediction is being made. Okay, so the company needs to analyze the customer with a particular profile and tell whether he will buy the computer or not. Okay, so what you're basically doing is, so you're creating what is called classification models. Okay, so classification is all about predicting the categorical class labels. It can either be discrete or nominals. Okay, so examples are being given here. Examples: credit or loan approval. Yeah, medical diagnosis. If a particular tumor is cancerous or benign. Fraud detection, web page categorization. Okay, these are all examples of classification. Okay, classification. Okay, so another slide is there which shows, I think this slide was already shown in the first unit. Okay, so process of categorizing a given set of feature vectors into two or more classes. So you can see here it's being categorized into two classes, a blue class and a red class, multiple classes. So these are the various classification techniques. Okay, so these are the various classification techniques. So I think a third unit speaks about these three. Okay, the one which I have highlighted. So it will be taking about, there are actually various methods for constructing the classification models. Okay, or a classification model can be represented in various ways. Okay, it can either be represented in terms of a decision tree. Okay, so decision tree looks like this. The decision tree, we will learn how to construct a decision tree, what it is all about, how do you evaluate it, all those things we will discuss. Okay, so this is a tree based classification. Then this is a rule based rule. If age is youth and income is high, then he belongs to class A. If age is youth and income is low, he belongs to class B. Okay, middle aged means he belongs to class C. Senior means he belongs to class C. Okay, so various classifications. Okay, rule based classification, then naive bayesian classification. Of course, you have regression based techniques to logistic regression, artificial neural network based classification, support vector machines, then deep neural networks, then convolutional neural networks. Okay, so maybe at the end of the unit I'll just show you a CNN based model for classifying the images. Okay, so which comes under the topic called deep learning. Deep learning. Okay, so these are the various classification techniques. So the ones which are highlighted are the ones which we will be discussing in this particular unit. Okay, so these are two methods for representing the classification models. So you can create classification rules or decision tree based classification. Okay, so now we will start with classification. So far, I was just telling you classify it as yes or no or whatever. It was only a bird's eye view what that we had on classification. Okay, so now let's start looking into how exactly this happens. How exactly this happens. So when you say classification, it is nothing but a two-step process. It's a two-step process. The first step is what is called the model construction phase. Okay, so in other words, you can also call it as a training phase. Okay, so the first step is what is called a model construction phase. Model construction, that is a learning step. Learning step, it is also called a training phase. Okay, so what basically happens here is a model is being constructed. Okay, rather than showing this, okay, just make a note of these two steps, then I'll explain one by one. Make a note of these two steps involved in classification. The first step is what is called the model construction phase, which is also called the training phase. Okay, so second phase is what is called the classification step, or wherein you use the model. Okay, model usage, the classification step. Okay, so you have it here. So the first phase, the model construction phase or the training phase. Training phase. Okay, so what basically happens here, a classification model is getting constructed here. A classification model. Okay, so actually different algorithms are there. Okay, different algorithms are used to build this classifier. Classifier is nothing but the model. Okay, so different algorithms are used to build a classifier. Okay, so how is this being done? By making the model learn using whatever training data set is available. Okay, so whatever training data set is being available. Okay, so using that, so different algorithms are being used for constructing or building this classifier model. Okay, so how it is being done is by making the model learn using the training data set whatever is available. Okay, so the model has to be well trained for the prediction of accurate results. Okay, which will happen in the next state. So here you can see this is a training data available. So you have 6 records, so which has these features: name, rank, years, tenure, whether the person is having a permanent job or not. Okay, so if the person's name is Mike and he's an assistant professor with 3 years of experience, he is not tenured. Okay, he doesn't have a permanent job. But then on the other hand, if it is Bill, who is a professor with 2 years of experience, then he is tenured, which means he's having a permanent job. Okay, or tenured, he's tenured. Okay, so this is the data that is being used to give training to the system. Okay, then yeah, you construct what is called your classifier. Okay, so there are different types of classifiers for in machine learning. It can either be a decision tree classifier, or it can be a rule based classifier. So you can see here it's a rules are being mentioned out here. If rank is equal to professor or year is greater than 6, then tenure is yes. It's a rule based classification. Or it can be a decision tree based classifier, or it can be a Bayesian classifier, or it can be a neural network classifier, or it can be k nearest neighbor, or support by vector machine, or a linear regression, or a logistic regression, and number of things are there. Okay, so few of these techniques we will be discussing in this particular unit. Okay, so then again, when it comes to tools and languages which are being used for all these purpose, for this model construction, for classifier construction and other things, you can use your R programming language or Python or even your SQL and other things. Okay, so those who are familiar with Python, you would have used your NumPy packages like NumPy, Matplotlib, or scikit-learn, or even TensorFlow. All these things are being used for this model construction purpose. Okay, so are you all familiar with Python? Familiar with Python?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so at the end of this
So
unit, I'll
to
give
some
you
extent.
to some extent. Okay, so at the end of this unit, I'll give you an assignment for a model creation, a practical assignment, a lab-based assignment. So wherein you can make use of your Python, preferably Python, for doing it. Okay, so that will, because right now I'm just telling you theoretically what basically happens. Okay, so then you will understand practically. Okay, now the second step. The first step was all about model construction. You create the classification model. Second step is all about using the model, model usage. Okay, so model is basically used to predict the class label, and this is basically the testing phase. Okay, so whatever model is being constructed, that is being tested on the test data. Okay, so then you will be able to estimate the accuracy of your classifier. So out here it is a classification rules, so that then you will be able, when you test it on an unknown data, okay, so then you will be able to test the, depending upon the result, you'll be able to test the accuracy of your classification rule. Okay, so now this is the test data being given. So this is different from the training data. Training data is different from the it can, even a subset of the training data can also be used for testing initially, and then a new set of data is being provided. So you can see here this is totally new data which is being given here. So from then you are going to test the classifier, and after that you are providing, this is for the purpose of prediction, for unseen data. For example, you're giving a person's name as Jeff, who's in the rank of a professor, who's having 4 years of experience, and you want to predict whether he is tenured or not. Tenured is yes or no. Okay, so based on the training which it had, and it is tested to some extent with a good level of accuracy. So based on which you make a prediction that this person is tenured. So that's how you use the classification model for predicting, for prediction purpose. Okay, so this is actually what the concept of classification is all about. So the two pictures that I had just projected, so it is being shown here, model construction and your prediction model. Okay, so if I try to equate it to an analogy, whatever we have discussed, okay, so it's taken from one of the sites which I came across. So I'll give you the same analogy. So let's say a person is sitting under a fan, and the fan starts, let's say the fan starts falling on the person. Okay, so he should get away from that place in order not to get hurt. Okay, so this is his training part. What is his training part? To move away when the fan is falling down. Okay, so that's the training part. Now during the testing phase, okay, so while testing, if the person just sees a heavy object coming towards him, or falling on him, and moves aside, then the system is tested positively. On the other hand, if the person is not at all moving uh, um, away from the place when a heavy object is coming towards him or it's being hurled toward against him, he is not moving aside, means the system is being tested negatively. Okay, the same is the case with your data. It should be properly trained in order to get the best results or accurate results and be able to make predictions for unknown or unseen data. Now have you understood what it is all about? Okay, right. So now, so with this understanding, so now we have discussed the basic classification concepts. Okay, classification concepts. So now we will look into the various techniques, classification techniques. The first and the most popular is what is called your decision tree induction. Decision tree. Okay, so have you learnt about decision tree or heard about decision tree in any of the other subjects? Decision tree? Yes or no? The class
Yes,
is
ma'am.
decided.
I have learned.
Yes. Where have you learnt about decision tree?
Ma'am, I think in software engineering and project management, we had a topic called graphs where we had this thing called as regression testing. So in regression
Ah,
testing, we had this decision tree.
okay, yeah. Decision tree, yeah. One of the algorithms for decision tree is CART. CART stands for classification and regression trees, CART algorithm. Okay, fine. Right. Okay, so those who have not come across or not looked into it so seriously, so you can say the main purpose of a decision tree is to expose the structural information contained in the data. Okay, so for example, you have this data set. Okay, so where the gender of the person along with age and his BP information and the drug, depending upon all those information, whether he uses a drug A or drug B, a table is being given to you. Okay, but then just by looking at this table, it is very difficult to get an idea about the relationship between the various variables. Okay, so the target variable could be drug. Hmm? Based on the gender, age, and BP, you are trying to decide, classify him as using either drug A or drug B. Okay, so it is just by looking at the table, it's very difficult to get a idea about the relationship between the response variable, that is drug, and other predictive variables. What are the predictive variables? You have the gender of the person, age, and the blood pressure. Okay, so if you give a visual representation, a graphical representation, something like this, okay, so then we can easily classify that person as using either drug A or drug B. So you can see here, if the person is having BP, high BP, then he's using drug A. Then if the BP is normal, but then the age is above 40 means he uses drug B. So otherwise, the BP is normal, age is less than 40 means it's drug A. Then low BP means drug B. So you can see here the visual representation gives a much more clearer idea about the relationship between the various variables. Okay, so yeah, again using this we can easily extract rules. So you can see here I am writing the rule: if BP is high, prescribe drug A; BP is low, prescribe drug B. Or the other rules. What are the other rules? What I just told. Okay, so BP is normal, age is less than or equal to 40, prescribe drug A, else prescribe drug B. Okay, so this decision tree is able to clearly summarize the data. Okay, so it is basically bringing out the structure which is being hidden in it, and you can make even rules for future prescription for a person whose information is not given here. Okay, so based on this rules we can even make a prediction. Okay, so that's what your decision tree is all about. Okay, so it's basically, you can call it as a concept tree, which will summarize the information contained in the training data set, okay, in the form of a tree structure. Okay, so once the concept model is being built, okay, then the test data can easily be classified. Okay, so when I say decision tree need not be, it's always not a binary tree or anything. It's a tree which can have more than two branches or whatever. Okay, so there's another decision tree being mentioned out here. Decision tree for the concept by computer, indicating whether the customer at All Electronics is likely to purchase a computer or not. Okay, so I'm saying the age. If he's a young person, a student, definitely he'll buy a computer. If he's a middle-aged person, also there are chances of him buying a computer. Then, if he's a senior person, check the credit rating. If it's excellent, of course, yes. If it's fair, no. Okay. So this is a decision tree which is being for used for uh, deciding or predicting whether a particular person will purchase a computer or not. Okay, fine. Right. So okay, the topmost node is the root node. These kind of terminologies you would have come across in a data structures or DAA. I'm not going into much into it. Internal nodes, the non-leaf nodes, denotes a test on the attribute. So you can see here, this is a test on the attribute. You can even show it by a diamond shape. A test. This is a test, whether the credit rating test, and you're deciding whether it is excellent or fair. Okay, so each internal node denotes a test on the attribute. Each branch denotes the outcome of the test, and each leaf node, the terminal node, holds a class label. The top is called the root node. Okay, so can you draw a decision tree for this? Can you draw a decision tree for this? Okay, so now you might ask me some questions. Okay, let's see. Fine. Can you draw a decision tree for this? By the time I take attendance. Are you able to see this? Yes or no? Please draw the decision tree for this. Predict a student's academic performance, whether he will pass or fail based on the given information, like assessment and assignment. Okay, so I think the decision tree that comes out here is a binary. You are expected to draw a binary decision tree. Okay, assessment value greater than 50, greater than or equal to 50, and less than 50. Assignment is yes or no. Then exam result, pass or fail. Okay, so let's take you take the root node as an assessment. Let assessment be the root node. Okay, so if a student is having greater than 50, greater than or equal to 50, then that root node can be branched into leaf nodes. One is pass, one is fail. Okay, and again, if the assessment mark is less than 50, it can be branched to another node. Okay, so so how do we draw this? How do we draw this? A decision tree. Can somebody give a try regarding how to draw this? Hmm? Okay, even you can put a rectangle 2. I have just put it as a root node. Let this be my assessment. Okay. Assessment. So then what do I do? If it is less than 50, I can put it as a, this is 1. If it is, okay, this is, let's say, greater than or equal to 50. Greater than or equal to 50, what was the criteria? Greater than or equal to 50 is pass. Okay, so put it as pass. Okay, then this is less than 50. Pardon me for the clarity of it. Okay, so again we have one more less than 50 assignment. Whether he has submitted the assignment or not. Okay, if you submitted the assignment, then make him pass. Hmm, if it is less, if the assessment marks is less than 50 and he has submitted the assignment, then make him pass. The assessment is less than 50 and he has not submitted the assignment, then let's fail him. Okay, so again you can have a diamond shaped decision box. Diamond shaped decision box which will tell you what the assignment is. Assignment. So assignment, let me put it as, this is yes and this is, let's say, no. Okay, if it is yes, what happens? He passes. No means fail. Right? So is this satisfying the rules, whatever I had mentioned out here? Predict, I mean, of course, I can make a prediction based on this. Okay, predict a student's academic performance, whether he will pass or fail based on the given information like assessment and assignment. Okay, so these were the conditions which was set forth to me. Okay, so I can like I have drawn a decision tree right now. So then from this I can uh, have a sequence of rules. What are the rules that I can write based on this? What rule can I write? What rule can I write? Somebody please. By looking at this, you please tell me what are the rules which I can write. What rule can I write? If it doesn't write the, okay, if assessment is,
If mark,
yeah, the assessment, that's the word which I have used. Assessment is greater than or equal to 50. Greater than or equal, it's equal to, okay.
and assignment equal to y.
Yeah, I'll first write the left hand side. That is straight away a pass, one single rule. Okay, so yeah, what you said is the right hand side part. Okay, so writing with this, I find it. Okay, this really, I find it. Okay, let me tell it out. Okay, if the assessment is greater than or equal to 50, then based on the left hand side of the tree, I can straight away write the rule as then pass. Okay, otherwise, else if assignment is less than 50, then Again, I have two more conditions. What are the two conditions? If assignment is equal to S, then equal to pass. Else, if assignment is equal to no, then it's equal to fail. Okay, so that's how I'm writing the rules. From the left hand side, I straight away write if assessment is greater than 50, pass. When I come to the right hand side, if assessment is less than 50, then again I can nest one more condition. If assignment is if assignment is equal to yes, then pass. If assignment is equal to no, then fail. Okay, so now if a test instance is given, for example, the student has scored 42 marks. 42 marks in his assessment. But then he has not submitted the assignment. Okay, so then what will be the prediction made by the decision tree? So what will be the prediction? He has scored 42 marks and assessment is not submitted, means what will happen? What will be the prediction which is being made? What will be the exam result? Oh God, is it that difficult to make a prediction? I'm asking just one simple question. My test sequence or a test instance is given where my assessment score is 42 marks and the person has not submitted the assignment. What will be the result? Whether it is pass or fail?
Fail, ma'am.
Fail. That's it. Fail. That's it. Okay. So that's what. So this is basically the concept of decision tree. So to construct this decision tree, there are many algorithms. There are n number of algorithms for constructing this decision tree. Okay, so these are the popular algorithms for constructing the decision tree. Okay, you can see here the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 algorithms are there. Okay, you have ID3. Iterative dichotomizer 3, which was developed by Pinland. Then C4.5. This is actually an improvised version of ID3. It's a successor of ID3. Then CART. CART stands for Correlation and Regression Trees, developed by Brayman. Then, of course, you have CHAID, Quest, Guide, Cruise, and C-Tree. But then I have highlighted the three there. The blue color 3 algorithms are being highlighted. So those will be discussed as a part of your syllabus. Okay, so all these algorithms basically employ a top-down, a greedy search through which the search of a space of possible branches with no backtracking. So the training data set is being recursively partitioned into smaller subset as the tree is being built. Okay, so we will be discussing these 3 algorithms. Okay, so then again, a point to be noted is when you construct a tree, that accuracy of the tree, that accuracy depends upon the selection of the best splitting attribute. When you reach a particular node, which is the best attribute that can split that particular node. Okay, so depending upon that, the accuracy of a tree varies. Okay, so different algorithms are used for building decision tree, and different algorithms make use of different measures to decide on the splitting criterion. Okay, for example, your algorithm called ID3, it makes use of the concept of what is called your entropy, reducing the entropy or maximizing the information gain for deciding upon the splitting criteria. For example, your algorithm called C4.5, it makes use of what is called your gain ratio. Gain ratio is a splitting criterion which is being used. Whereas when it comes to CART, correlation and regression trees, CART, it makes use of Gini index. Gini index as the splitting criteria. So different algorithms use different measures to decide or select the splitting criterion. Okay, so that's a point to be noted. Okay, so next we are supposed to discuss the first algorithm. Okay, I think the time is up. So maybe I'll take the attendance. So have you understood whatever we have discussed today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we just discussed the basic concepts, what the first technique is all about. Then next class we will start discussing about the decision tree construction using the various algorithms. Okay, Sundar, can you just turn off the recording? I'll take the attendance.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sundar. So please answer your attendance.